Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a Spain news update. And European recovery funds are starting to be noticed around the country, but skeptics are worried that the money's being spent on the wrong things. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now, let's get into the news, and as I said, the government has started spending EU aid recovery money. And as we can see here, Spain bets big on plan for energy efficient buildings using EU funds. The Spanish government is betting big on modernising existing buildings to make them more energy efficient, shifting away from the country's tradition of new builds. It is an ambition to which Spain's left-wing government is devoting almost a tenth of the 70 billion in grants it expects to get from the bloc's emergency coronavirus recovery fund, despite criticism about ploughing money into the construction sector. Government aid always carries a risk. It's like doping the economy, said Rodrigo Morel, a partner at Granada, the company carrying out the modernisation works in northern Madrid. But if you want to generate change very quickly, you don't have much choice, he said. But critics say the plan is a symptom of an old bad habit, the Spanish economy's dependence on construction as a motor of growth rather than more productive investments. Before the financial crisis, the sector was the not-so-secret source of the economy, contributing heavily to bank and corporate profits and tax revenues. In 2004, the country built more homes than France, Germany and Italy combined. But after the crash, Spain was left with billions of euros in bad loans, half-built complexes, and tens of thousands of workers with unusable construction skills. So a new strategy from the government, ploughing money into modernising old buildings, making them more energy efficient, and as the text said, shifting away from the country's tradition of new builds. But as usual, there are many critics because they see the same problems repeating themselves, money going into the construction sector and lining the same pockets. And another of their criticisms is that the money is not being spent on more productive investments. So will the government modernise the economy, or will it repeat the mistakes of the past? Time will tell. Now, anybody who has filled up their car recently in Spain will notice that it's a lot more expensive to do it this year than it was last year. And that's because fuel prices are soaring in Spain. Filling up costs 22.5% more than last year. Specifically, the average price of a litre of petrol has risen by just over 0.2% compared to the first week of August to stand at almost €1.42, the highest since the end of July 2014, according to data from the European Union Oil Bulletin. Filling up an average 55-litre petrol tank now costs around €78.09, around €14.3 more than a year ago, while filling up with diesel fuel costs around €69.87, around €11.6 more than in August 2020. So consumers being smashed at the bowser. But the good news is that electricity prices have gone down. As we can see here, electricity prices take a break and fall below €90 megawatt hour. The average price of electricity on the wholesale market took a breather on Monday and fell for the third consecutive day to an average price of €88.92 per megawatt hour compared to €110.02 on Sunday, down 19.18%. With this drop, the price of electricity has fallen below €100 for the first time since the 8th of August, leaving behind a week in which there have been 5 consecutive days of historic increases between Monday and Friday, coinciding with the heat wave that Spain has suffered. So some bad news for car owners, a little bit more expensive to fill up the car, but there might be some relief on the next electricity bill. Now, Spain's first COVID-19 vaccine is making headlines, and the screening of volunteers for the trial of the first Spanish vaccine against the coronavirus has begun. The Josep Trueta Hospital in Girona and the Clinic Hospital in Barcelona will begin screening volunteers this Monday to participate in the human clinical trial of the first Spanish vaccine against COVID-19 developed by the HIPRA laboratory. On August the 11th, the Spanish Agency for Medicines and Health Products authorized the first clinical trial in humans of a Spanish vaccine against COVID-19, the PHH1V vaccine from HIPRA, a laboratory that has its plant in Amer, Girona. In this first phase, 30 people aged between 18 and 39 who have not had the disease or been vaccinated against it will be targeted and will be inoculated with doses of the new COVID-19 vaccine in the coming weeks. So if you're living in Catalonia between the ages of 18 and 39, have not had COVID-19 yet and have not been vaccinated, and you want to participate in this clinical trial, then head to one of those hospitals. Now, on the subject of vaccines and vaccination, it appears that the country won't reach its target to have 70% of the population vaccinated by the middle of August. The government had the 18th of August marked on the calendar. In May, Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez announced that this would be the date on which Spain would reach 70% of the population vaccinated with the full vaccination schedule. In the end, it will not, as the data from the Ministry of Health show. This is not a catastrophe either, as it will be achieved a few days later. The value will be the same, and it will still be a success. Spain has 62.8% of its population fully inoculated. This is the equivalent to 29,794,008 inhabitants. To reach 70%, about 3.4 million people remain, based on population figures from the National Institute of Statistics. So the 70% target set by the government not going to be reached, but we're not far off. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain. We can see that the accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days is now down to 415. Daily cases are down 37% on previous data. There are still 9,356 people hospitalised with COVID around the country, and there are 1,931 COVID patients still in ICU. If we have a look at Spain's best performing autonomous community, Asturias, we can see that the accumulated incidence rate there is 224. Cases there are down 54% on previous data. And if we have a look at a summary of the vaccination plan, we can see that data that we just mentioned when it comes to people having completed vaccination, and 73.16% of the population have received at least one dose. Now there was some excitement the other day at a beach in Granada when drug traffickers decided to beach their boat and flee the police. But they chose the wrong beach and were arrested by a civil guard on holiday. 2 suspected drug traffickers were fleeing from the Guardia Civil in a boat that ran aground on the beach at Melicena in Soar, Granada. The bathers who were on the beach at the time rushed after them to try to hold them off, managing to arrest one of them. Among the people who collaborated in this arrest was a sergeant of the Guardia Civil who was on holiday there in Granada. He recounted how he experienced the chase. You get up, you see why they are running, and you go after them, he said. So a brave act from beachgoers there in Granada. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from 1-2, I don't recommend Cantabria at all. You 1-2, thanks for the comment, thanks for giving us your opinion, but no need to shout. There's no need to write in all caps, there's no need to leave 3 exclamation marks. There's no need to be so aggressive. If you don't like Cantabria, that's fine. I said yesterday that Cantabria is one of my favourite parts of the country. Haven't been there for a few years, but looking forward to getting back there soon. But that's just my opinion. As the Spanish say, para gustos los colores. One here from Winston. Hi Stu, I think it's a bit strange that everybody is now following Singapore, which was the first country to say that the virus is here to stay. Well done, Singapore. England got smashed by India in the second test. They have no chance against Australia in the Ashes series. They need Shane Warne as their new coach. You Winston, thanks for the comment, and obviously referring to something that we saw yesterday when a Spanish virologist said that the coronavirus is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And you're right, I think Singapore was the first country to come to that conclusion. And when it comes to the cricket, I did see that India beat England the other day at Lord's, I think it was. And for me, it's always good to see England getting smashed at the home of cricket. One here from Alan. Hi Stuart, always enjoy your level-headed delivery of the news from Spain. Tell me, do you think if one were to construct a Venn diagram of COVID deniers, anti-vaccination proponents, and climate change deniers, one would just place all 3 circles directly on top of each other? Alan, thanks for the comment, and in one word, yes. And to be honest, I'm sick and tired of seeing the same people leave the same comments if I mention one of those topics. In fact, I'm getting extremely close to turning the comment section off. It's getting extremely tiring having to read these comments, and I think it would be the best thing to do. One here from Carmen. I'm in interior Galicia since Wednesday, just above Portugal, and there was extremely hot weather for this area through Friday, at least 33 degrees Celsius between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. each day. Most people tried to limit outdoor activity to the hours before 11 a.m. and after 7 p.m. Love your cover page photo on today's update. Thanks for all the great info, such as Lister Robinson, etc. Yeah, Carmen, thanks for the comment, and this is an example of a comment that I enjoy reading on this channel. Somebody speaking from personal experience on what the situation is like in their part of Spain, and somebody who appreciates the value of the community when we talk about things like the Robinson list. So thanks for the comment, Carmen, and thanks for sharing your experience of the heat wave in Galicia. One here from Andy. Hi Stuart, unsurprisingly another fine summary. I strongly suspect the rather gruesome word crushed, supposedly uttered by Ms. Del Val in reference to the elderly, was in fact machacados, which of course sounds perfectly okay in Spanish, pero nos pilla de mayores con el cuerpo machacado. or something. Yandy, thanks for the comment, and you're right, that was the word used by Ms. Del Val in her interview yesterday. We can see here exactly what she said in Spanish. Sin embargo, lo estamos pasando de mayores y nos está pillando con el cuerpo más machacado y con ausencia total de respuesta inmunitaria. And you're right, it is a word that sounds perfectly okay in Spanish, but we probably wouldn't use the word crushed in English. I think damaged would be the better word. The older we get, the more damaged our bodies become. On that note, I'll wrap the video up because estoy totalmente machacado. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked, a thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.